Alrighty, so I took several of your variables and I put them into a correlation matrix. And just as a reminder, the way you do that is you go to regression and then you find your correlation matrix there. And I always check this box for flagging significant correlations just because it makes it easier to see. So here are, and you'll be able to pause the video to see which ones I did, but I just selected some that logically it makes sense that you might find a correlation between. Now this is technically data mining, right? If you were involved in a formal research study, you would want to have a more justified hypothesis throwing in. You wouldn't just want to throw all your variables into the hat like this and see what comes out. But for this project, I just want you to have experience with interpreting and finding your data, so I don't mind if you data mine and just kind of do a throw a spaghetti at the wall method. But so what you'll see is you have a few things that are logically correlated, right? I work out by choice and having a higher intensity of physical activity. Being motivated to maintain physical health and having a higher intensity of physical activity. But you also see some really interesting things here. Being motivated by social activity and working out with a workout buddy tends to result in a higher intensity of physical activity. So that would be something interesting to talk about. Same thing with working out with a sports team versus working out by yourself, right? So there's an interesting kind of social element here that workout buddy and sports team are both and being in a group fitness class are both significantly correlated with workout intensity, but working out by yourself isn't. So that's something that you could talk about some. And you also see a correlation between how stressed they are and workout intensity. So maybe this belief that about how stress might be related to the way somebody goes about their workouts. And then you can go through, and there actually were several really interesting correlations within this that you can go through and interpret. But like when I exercise, I find my mind wandering to other things is significantly correlated with working out by choice, right? So they're still choosing to work out, but even though they choose it, they might be struggling with that whole mind wandering component. There's also some interesting elements in those who were motivated to work out by changing their body shape. There was one really interesting one on here that had to do with when I work out, I compare myself to others. And that one had oh no, hang on, this is in the way. This idea of working out, or when they work out, they compare themselves to others, was significantly correlated with, where was it? This was the variable about if you follow this up, of working out because they're motivated to change their body shape, right? So this idea, if you're going to the gym with the idea I'm trying to lose weight or get more muscular or whatever it might be, that is somebody that is more correlated with engaging in self-comparison when they exercise in public. So those are just a few directions you could go with this. If you pause this video and look at this list I've done and put these same ones in here, there's a lot of really interesting correlations in here that you could work with to choose for your discussion. But one other thing that you could do, let me back out quite a few of these. Let's keep the intensity and let's keep the physical and mental health and stress relief and social activity and the body shape. But then let's get rid of some of these other ones. Okay. And now we can come in here and put in these different types, right? Because you asked about running and jogging, lifting weights, hiking, swimming, walking, etc., etc., etc. And then okay, all the way down here through group classes. So if we throw all these back in and give it a second, and it's going to take a second to think, one thing that you'll find is that you have some interesting correlations between specific exercise types and specific findings. So for example, people who run or jog, there's a significant correlation with having a higher intensity of physical activity, right? Which logically makes sense. But you can go through as we get down to some of the other like more psychologically motivated ones, and you can see that you have some significant correlations within these that you can look at as you start getting into the specific exercise types and the correlations. So that would be my first line of advice for things that you might want to look into and some results that you might want to interpret, because I think you do have a lot of really, really interesting things here to work with.